Hi everyone, my name is Adam. I'm the marketing manager for Rose Training. Rose Training is a registered training organization. We specialize in teaching marriage celebrancy, the celebrancy course, the certificate 4. We also do JP training in Queensland. We're based out of Brisbane. We're a family business that's been going since 2007. And Jean and I have been working for the company for a number of years. We're not in the family, but we do feel like part of the family. Just about the course, you may know that we offer the certificate 4 in celebrancy via Zoom in this sort of a format, a 5-day head start, or an online only option. Both options are supported, get full trainer support. And we also do a Wednesday night drop-in for anybody who has a question, any of our students who have a question that they're working through while they're doing the course. Some of you may have been in touch with either Mina or Ben. We've asked them to come in at the end so that you can see their faces and say hi to them. Anyway, I'd like now to, you didn't tune in to listen to me. I'll introduce the star of the show, who is Jean, who's our head of celebrancy and a very experienced marriage celebrant who's married hundreds of couples and has lots of experience, has seen it all, dealt with all kinds of crazy things, and she's going to be telling us all about it today. So without further ado, Jean Cook.
Thank you, Adam. I am not the star of the show. I'm merely the celebrant, and Adam and I work as a team when we present these webinars to people. I do have lots of crazy stories that I will share with you, with students, with all of the things that I have experienced over my years as a celebrant. Yeah, it's quite a journey that I've been on that's brought me to where I am now. And I know that anyone that decides to become a celebrant, you will share the same amazing journey, different stories, but the same sort of journey that I've shared over the years and travelled.
Great. Well, I thought we'd kick it off with a short video that we made, was it last year? To end of last year?
Yeah, September it was.
Yeah. So
when it should have been bright and sunny.
So we'll show this because it's kind of a good segue into talking to Jean about, you know, what happens and what could happen on any given wedding day. So I'm going to share this video now. I'll just pull it up.
Hi, I'm Jean and welcome to the most wonderful place to be on any given day, and that's a wedding ceremony. In the next few moments, I will be the narrator, the director, the choreographer, whose role it is to paint the love story of a beautiful couple who are about to become partners in life. You guessed it, I'm a marriage celebrant. I declare, without bias at all, the most amazing, heart-filling, soul-soothing job you could ever hope to have. Being a celebrant opens a path to share joy, to share love, to laugh with families as they share their memories, shed tears of joy with couples who take the walk of their lives down the aisle. You have to love life to do this job. You have to love love. You need to connect with your couple, a source of inspiration limited only by your imagination. Your working day will take you to places you could only imagine. Picture a heritage winery with a sweeping driveway leading up to a colonnaded veranda, capturing the views of vast fields of vineyards in the distance. A beach of golden sands with sparkling blue ocean as your backdrop. A mountaintop surrounded by an enveloping, romantic shroud of mist. A white timber chapel filled with beautiful pink roses. This will be some of your work environments and so many more. Everything here today has been homegrown, handmade, hand-built by all of the family and done with so much love. It's inspiring, it's an honour to be a part of it, it's truly incredible. How can you not want to be a part of all of this?
Still get goosebumps remembering that day, as you do with every wedding that you've been part of.
Yeah, I've got some sort of favourite parts of that. The dogs that run out
The
behind.
dogs. And what everyone didn't see were the vehicles bringing the brides that got bogged in the paddocks beyond where the camera was. What you didn't see was the fact that I had gumboots on in that video presentation because it was so wet. The ground was so slodgy, and the beautiful two cameramen that were there with me were under strict instruction: do not move the camera below my shoulders or I will have a meltdown. I do not want everyone to see mud splashed over my legs and gumboots on. And you know, whilst we're part of that beautiful day, and we're part of sharing the story of the couple on that day, there are elements that we need to deal with and deal with it professionally and calmly, like dogs running all over the place, or kids running all over the place, like it raining when it's supposed to be a beautiful sunny day, like mud getting splattered all over your legs. It's just it's just a matter of preparing yourself for it. It's great fun. It is great fun, as long as you can, you know, whip your shoes off, put your gum boots on, wipe your legs, put your shoes back on and get ready to present the ceremony. So yeah, that was one of those wonderful days.
Yes,
Sorry
it looks more like it was shot in Tasmania than on the Gold Coast. It was
yeah. In September, it was supposed to have been the most beautiful sunny day, and in fact it was the day before, but this family had prepared that wedding site over the last year. From when the engagement was announced, they had all worked to build everything that was there, to grass it all, to garden it all, only for it to rain on the day. But I think it actually made the moment so much more memorable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great video. Just a sort of quintessential country wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So, Jean, let's get into this. We want to ask you about your journey to becoming a marriage celebrant, because obviously there are some people here who are looking to embark on their own journey. So, tell us how did you even start to think about becoming a marriage celebrant?
Well, very quickly, I am a gardener, crazy gardener, and I had quite an extensive garden some years ago. And we were often, my husband and I, asked if people could use our garden to do their wedding ceremonies, which we used to, you know, invite people in, didn't charge. And the original owner of Rose Training actually went to school with my husband 30, 40, maybe 45 years ago. And he came upon the property and said, "Oh my goodness, Jean, you should become a celebrant. Have you thought about what you're going to do moving forward?" I used to work in my husband's business. "Have you thought about becoming a celebrant?" No, I hadn't. But as soon as the thought was mentioned, it was like, yeah, this is something that I can do. I like working with people. I love telling stories. I love writing. I love reciting poetry. I love helping people make their day as beautiful as it possibly can be for them. And they're all different. Some are romantic, some are funny, some are quite black and white, but just being able to communicate and work with them. And I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. I can't think of anything better than getting dressed up every Saturday afternoon and heading out to be part of somebody's wedding, and walking away knowing that you have made their day the most memorable it could possibly be for the right reasons. So, and I don't regret one single minute of it, Adam.
I'm sure there are moments, right? There are moments, and I know you've got some crazy moments that you can to share with us. But someone asked, so how many years, Jean, has it been since you've been?
I think I'm approaching my 13th year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you find doing it, I mean, you've been doing it now for quite a few years,
Yeah.
and how do you find your clients?
How do I find them?
How do they find you?
Oh, how do they find me?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a good series of Facebook advertising that Adam, in fact, helps me with. So, so through advertising, through word of mouth, through community groups that I belong to, you know, if you've got children of the marrying age, you might be part of a football committee or a cricket committee or a netball committee. You might be a school teacher or a nurse, or in some industry where you're working with lots of people that know you. Once you become a celebrant, people will start asking, oh, you know, can you do my wedding? I've known you for X amount of years. You would be fabulous. So that's pretty much how I started, word of mouth, Adam, with all the community groups that I was a part of, ages of children, all being of marrying age. And then just advertising myself, having a good website and having a good presence on social media sites.
Yeah. And you also let me know that quite often when you do a wedding, you often walk away with
a booking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that wedding that was just televised, videoed, sorry. I have taken 2 weddings from that one. So people that were actually at that wedding contacted me afterwards to say, hey, we were at the wedding that you did for so-and-so and such and such. We would love for you to be our celebrant. So every ceremony that you do is potentially an audition for the next one. And it doesn't always happen a week or 2 after. Sometimes it could be 2 years down the track, where someone contacts you to say, hey, I was at the wedding that you did for so-and-so. Are you free? Are you available? People also might not be part of the wedding guests, but they might be invited by the bride or the groom or the couple to come in and sit and watch you perform as the celebrant. They might have had a discussion with them. So you never know who's sitting in the audience watching how you actually perform that ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I should probably rewind a bit. So you got the idea to become a marriage celebrant.
Yep.
And of course, there are some requirements to becoming a marriage celebrant. You can't just say, I'm a marriage celebrant and start marrying people. So what was the next part of your journey?
So the next part of my journey was, of course, to enroll with Rose Training. So I did do my training with Rose Training and obtained my certificate 4 in celebrancy. From there, I had to apply to the Attorney General in Canberra, so Marriage Law and Celebrants section of the Attorney General's Department in Canberra, to make application to actually become an authorised marriage celebrant. And that process is, you know, establishing that you have the qualifications, just going through a bit of a check on your fit and proper personedness, what you do in the community, just establishing who you are, where you live, and a few just minor details with that. And once that was all gone through, I received that beautiful letter, and I still remember today where I was the moment I opened the letter in the mail. They didn't come via email in those days. How we've progressed in you know, so short an amount of time. So they send you an email or a letter to say, congratulations, Julie Miller, you are just now an authorised marriage celebrant, and from this date you can legally perform legal marriage ceremonies within Australia. So yeah, got my application through. And of course, for me, word of mouth, the community that I was involved with and the age of my children, my bookings just flowed from there. As soon as I let everyone know that I was an authorised celebrant, I was lucky enough to actually start getting the bookings pretty quickly.
Yeah. Just as a side note, so you became, like, you have to apply to the Attorney General's Department. They authorize you, they send you a letter, as you said, authorizing you to perform weddings. So this is actually the 50th year that this has sort of been going on in Australia. And Australia is the first place in the world to have secular civil celebrants.
Ceremonies, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, how cool is that? 50 years this year, July 23. First civil ceremony was actually performed in Queensland. And we were the pioneer of that, as Adam said. Lois Darcy was the first celebrant. She's still an active celebrant in the community. And Lionel Murphy was the Attorney General at the time, and he was the one that got this whole thing going and instigated civil ceremonies, which allows our couples to marry on the top of a mountain, on the beach, in their backyard, in a beautiful venue, in a vineyard, wherever, Shark Tank, hot air balloon, skydiving plane, wherever they want to get married, as long as the celebrant's happy to do that. That's what civil ceremonies has allowed people to do, to go wherever it's relevant to them and to add components into the ceremony that they choose to add.
Yeah. Now this is the Commonwealth Attorney General.
Yes. Yeah. And there was a question in there, Adam. Sorry, I just spoke over you. Canberra, the Attorney General's office is in Canberra. It is a Commonwealth Marriage Act that we work under, so Commonwealth law. And I think the question was asked, well, I think the question meant, how do you actually apply? It's all online. So you don't have to go to Canberra to get your application through. Once you have your qualifications on the Attorney General's website, you will see, I can see the kitten in the background there, Kalina, that just took my attention away there. She's doing what my kitten's usually doing. So you apply online. So it's a really easy process of just applying, answering questions and uploading documents.
Yeah. Once you've got once you've got
your qualifications.
Yeah. Now, Chris Cole has asked, do you only deal with weddings, or do you do naming ceremonies, funerals, etc.?
Yeah, I personally do weddings, baby namings, and funerals. The bulk of what I do are actually wedding ceremonies, followed by funerals, and then probably baby namings after that. Yeah.
Okay, and are those elements covered in the course?
Yes, they are. Yeah. So we talk about weddings on the whole, the legislation that's required, and we talk about the elements of a ceremony, and then we actually break that down to show you that performing a wedding ceremony is basically the same as performing a naming ceremony, a funeral, a boat naming, a renewal of vows, a commitment ceremony. What sets the marriage ceremony apart are the legal components and must-have legal elements that are in a wedding ceremony. And in a funeral, we have a few more elements, like a burial or a cremation and words of committal and a eulogy. So those two ceremonies we speak about in the course, they're quite apart in the elements that are in those two, but every other ceremony that you perform will have the same order of service, basically. It's just the words that you put into those elements that will, describe whether it's a wedding or whether it's a baby naming or whether it's a renewal of vows, a commitment ceremony. Yeah.
Actually, I forgot to mention, we do the funeral celebrancy course as a separate thing. Although funerals is covered in the certificate 4 of celebrancy, we also do a funeral celebrancy course separate to that course, because there are people who simply who only want to do funerals and not weddings. Yeah. All right. Okay. So now, with the variety of weddings and ceremonies that you can perform, we sometimes talk about the unity ceremonies and things that you get asked to do, which sort of define or personalize each wedding. Can you talk a bit about that, Jean?
Yes, and I guess it's the essence of having a civil ceremony is that we work with our clients to add elements to the ceremony that is significant to them, significant to their beliefs, their cultural beliefs, their family values, their social beliefs, anything like that. So you might have a couple that want to acknowledge their union. They want to acknowledge the fact that today they're becoming husband and wife. We do that in words in a ceremony, that's a given, but to make that extraordinary, to make that more powerful in, you know, in the intent of what's happening on the day, we can have a candle lighting ceremony, which suggests or acknowledges the union of that couple. We could do a hand fasting, which also suggests the tying of the knot, the sealing of the deal.
That's quite popular, isn't it, at the moment?
Yes, it is, and quite. It changes the ceremony from ordinary, or not ordinary, from beautiful into something more extraordinary. When you can add something visual in the ceremony, it really creates a powerful moment. And if your guests haven't cried up until the point of doing some form of ritual, regardless of what it is, it can be sprinkling rose petals around the area of the ceremony site. It could be putting a garland of flowers across the shoulders of each of the couple. If they haven't cried at the point of adding ritual into the ceremony, they will cry at that point. It can be acknowledging children, which is quite a beautiful one, Adam. One of my favorite ones is when you marry a couple who either already have children in their relationship or have children from separate relationships. You want to make those children feel inclusive on the day, hold a part within that ceremony, acknowledge to all of the guests who they are and how they become this new family on the day, involving children in that, doing a sand ceremony or a flower ceremony. Very powerful, very, very powerful, very beautiful.
Yeah. So Jean, can we let's get into the nitty-gritty of it a bit. How do you work with couples when a couple approaches you? Now it might be a first couple, it's their first time getting married, or it might be a mixed family coming together, as you've just talked about, with children involved in that. How do you work with them?
Well, you're going to have a very good information pack to start off with, and the course helps you build that information pack. That's going to be your guidance. You'll sit down with the couple after you've, established that the booking is going ahead. And I just sit down and I converse with them. I ask them, is there something special about the day that you're getting married? Is there something special about the place that you're getting married? What are your thoughts? What are your hopes? What have you seen in the ceremony that you don't like is a pretty important question to ask. What have you seen that you don't like? And then that's a note to self. Don't talk about that. What have you seen that you really like? And then you can start to, maybe figure out what's important to them. Do they have children? Do they want to acknowledge their parents? Do they want this to be a traditional ceremony? Do they want this to be full of romance? What is it that their hopes are? So we just sit and talk about all of those sorts of options. This is what you can do. Have you thought about this? So it's just really posing all of the questions that they might, posing all of the suggestions, Adam, but then asking all the questions. It's not a time to talk about what you do as such. It's a time to understand what are the values that are important to your client. So it's usually just a really nice, calm, chilled, sit back with a cup of tea or coffee situation, and we just chat for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Then I leave them with quite an extensive checklist of questions that I get them to answer so I can start to understand their story. And we go through that checklist of questions in the course as well, Adam.
Okay. So between that time and the wedding, how many more times do you meet with them?
Oh, not much, actually. It is an initial contact, which is usually the first phone call or the first message that comes through Facebook or Instagram. I find most of them are emails or messenger rather than telephone these days. And that will depend on the age of your client as well. Someone my age is likely more to phone. Our millennials and our Generation Z are more likely to email or send a message. So we've got that first contact. That might be, half an hour of information giving and information getting. And then we organise to meet with the couple face to face. That's about an hour to an hour and a half. Then you should be organising a rehearsal, which is usually the day before the wedding. That rehearsal will probably take you about an hour. And then you've got the day of the ceremony itself, which half an hour ceremony, maybe an hour before it starts, half an hour after. So you've probably got about 2 hours tied up in the actual delivering of the ceremony on the day, setting up, delivering, packing up.
Okay, someone's asked, Chris Cole's asked, I mean, this question is always going to come up. Do you ever get bridezillas?
You know, I've never had a bridezilla. And I believe I've never had a bridezilla because I communicate very well, if I'm allowed to say that. I ask all of the questions and I listen very carefully to what it is that they would like. The closest I've come to a bridezilla, the very closest I've come is to one particular wedding where it's very important for us as celebrants to speak to the clients about what they see us wearing on the day. There are some couples that are very, very much about the Instagram shots on the day of their wedding. So they want everyone to fall into the Instagram, you know, flow of the picture. So this one particular bride, it was with all the guests as well as me, that said no one was to wear white. That's a given. No one was to wear black. That's, you know, sometimes the celebrant wears black. No one was to wear black. No one was to wear a hat, a cowboy hat. No one was to wear green. So we had 4 requirements there with colors. With that particular bride, I actually had to ring her up and say, well, I can't wear black. You don't want me to wear green. This is your color scheme. Here are the options I've got left. What color would you like me to wear for your wedding? So that's probably as close as I've come to a bridezilla. But I again, if you are communicating, can I use one example here, Adam, without talking for too long? I drove through a Zarafa's coffee shop the other day to order a coffee. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to skip all that add-on talk that they do. And I'm just going to ask specifically for what I wanted. So I asked for a tall cappuccino with 1 sugar, regular beans, thank you. And you know the question I got asked? Was that a tall? Yes, it was. Did you want sugar? Yes, I do. Regular beans or our whatever the other beans are called? No, regular beans. So I did that twice and I got the same response. They're not listening to what I said. And I think that's a very good example of what we need to do as celebrants with our clients. Actually listen to what they're saying. You won't get the bridezilla. Okay.
Another great question. How long from that initial meet until the wedding?
Okay, there is a legal requirement that any forms that we complete are done within 18 months of the wedding. Okay, so that's one legal requirement. And there is also the legal requirement that they have to complete a notice of intended marriage within 1 month of getting married. So we've got those 2 boundaries to work within. Previous to COVID, I would say in general, my bookings would be 12 to 16 months out from their wedding date, from when they contacted me. Through COVID, it was all over the place. So we don't even want to sort of go back there and have a look at it. What I'm finding this year is that my bookings are coming much sooner with the weddings. So the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've just booked September out, I've just booked May out, and I've just booked October out, which is not very far in advance of actually booking their wedding. So that's quite interesting. So, you know, it can be from a month to 18 months and sometimes even longer. Some couples, they'll book their venue maybe 2 years in advance. I think 3 years is probably the longest I've had out, where a couple have wanted a particular venue so desperately that they've chosen to wait 3 years to get the date that they particularly want. And then have come back to book the celebrant to make sure that they've got, you know, everything all lined up, ready to go. When they are wanting to book you sooner than 18 months before their wedding, or later than 18 months, oh gosh, I've got that round the wrong way here, earlier than 18 months before their wedding, then it's a matter of taking the booking and scheduling a time to meet when we're within the required legal time to complete the notice of intended marriage. Hope I didn't confuse you with that there.
No, if I just sort of, so what in talking
Go
with
ahead.
you, you've said that this year your bookings are happening much quicker.
Much quicker, yeah, much quicker.
Where-
And they're
where the
also
past
not,
is
yeah,
generally
not
like
Saturdays,
what,
yeah.
12 months, even 18
Well, yeah,
months out.
yeah.
But this year, 6 months, it's not uncommon.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Now, so let's see. So someone has asked, I think it was Alicia, when you meet with clients, do they come to your home office or do you normally meet at public places?
Good question. This is something you need to establish for yourself in your own small business. Do you want to invite people to your home office or your home? If you don't have to do that. Do you want to offer to go to their home if they're happy to have you there? Do you want to do that? I find, and the other consideration is how far away from you are they actually living? So depending on where you live and what sort of kilometers you're going to travel to actually do a wedding, if someone rings you up and they're, let's use the Gold Coast, for example, you're on the southern end. Is anyone here on the Gold Coast? Sydney? I can make it more relevant. Have we got any New South Wales people? Yes, one. Okay, all right. Well, let's say we'll go back to the Gold Coast then. You're on the southern end of the Gold Coast and you're doing a wedding in Brisbane. It's a 1.5 hour trip to Brisbane. The couple live in Brisbane. They are probably not likely to travel 1.5 hours to come to your home office. Are you happy to travel 1.5 hours to go to their home or somewhere close to them? I find what works better is a halfway meeting point. So where do you live? This is where I live. Are you happy to meet me at Coffee Club halfway? And we're both traveling, maybe half an hour or 45 minutes away. So it's something you negotiate with your client. What's going to work for you? What's going to work with them? But hey, there's Zoom. And Zoom has become the big thing with celebrants and couples of late. The majority of all my bookings for this last 1.5 years have been on Zoom. So I'll say to my couples, do you want to meet at a local cafe? Would you like me to come to your house? Or do you want to hook up on Zoom? And Zoom is always the one that they take. No one has to leave their home. It's an hour meeting on a Zoom, let's say. We don't have to get dressed up and go out to a coffee shop. I'm not talking about the celebrant, I'm talking about the couple. And I'm finding that they are preferring to actually meet with you on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So no travel.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jean, when does the discussion of the fee come up?
It usually comes up right away. So I find that the question people will ask straight up is, are you available? How much do you charge? So our millennials and our Generation Z like transparency in general. They want to know all of the questions straight away. But this would be a sales class, wouldn't it, Adam? Marketing class. They want to know the price pretty well straight away before they decide whether you're the celebrant, but you have to have some sales skills there to keep a conversation going so that you can establish a price that is appropriate for what it is that the couple want. So it's usually straight away the price is asked.
Yep. Okay. And Scott McNulty's asked, is this a full-time career for you, Jean? And are more marriages taking place during the week rather than the traditional weekend wedding?
Yes. More marriages are definitely taking place through the week now. A lot of venues are offering discount packages for getting married on a Monday or a Tuesday, as opposed to a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We also have the situation where a lot of people didn't get married through COVID, and coming out of COVID last year, this year and next year, a lot of the favoured venues have already been booked. So they have no options if they want that venue and want to get married sooner than later. Then the midweek weddings are definitely a big thing at the moment.
Yep.
So that was one. What was the other question there, Adam, at the beginning of that?
Is this a full-time career for you?
Well, I work full-time for Rose Training, and yes, at the moment I have a full-time role as the celebrant as well. So you can easily make it a full-time role if that's what you're looking to do. You do have to advertise yourself, so you do have to be proactive in the industry. But if you want to make this a full-time role, you can make it a full-time role.
Yeah. And you're still very active as a marriage celebrant.
Yeah, so yeah, very much so. I'm probably averaging 2 ceremonies a week, depending on what day of the week it is, as well as working a full-time role for Rose Training. So if you're planning to do something like that, you have to be very well organised. Your calendar has to be spot on and up to date to make sure that you don't double book or muck anything up.
Yep.
Miss the webinar.
No, Mark Woodish has asked a good question. He's asked, how do you manage signing the NOIM? Maybe, Jean, if you could explain what the NOIM is and
Okay.
how do you go about signing it if you're
Via
interviewing a
Zoom.
couple via Zoom?
Okay. So the notice of intended marriage is the first document we're required to complete with the couple so that they are, in fact, we're checking who they are, we're checking their identity, we're checking their date of birth, we're checking their eligibility to marry. Okay, so that's the first document we fill out. The requirement under the law, under the Marriage Act of 1961, is the authorised person, be that a celebrant, we'll just talk celebrant to make it simple. When the couple sign the NOIM, the authorised celebrant is required to be in the physical presence of the couple, which means you need to have a meeting with them and sit down at a table and they sign. However, there's been a temporary change to that law. It was instigated during COVID and it took the whole 2 years of COVID before it was actually amended temporarily. We are able to witness a digital signature over Zoom or Skype, FaceTime. So there has been a temporary amendment in the law that will enable a celebrant who is capable and has the IT skills to go on to Zoom, email the completed notice of intended marriage to the couple, have them put their digital signature on it in front of you and share their screen, and then email it back to you in the same instance and you can add your digital signature to it. That is only able to be done until December of this year. And we are waiting in the industry to see whether that amendment actually goes through Parliament and the laws passed to allow us to keep doing it that way from here on in. For clients that can't manage a digital signature, and we have to remember, we've got to communicate on the level that the client is able, to understand or actually do. So for those couples that can't do a digital signature, they can print the document off in advance of you. So you send it to them, they print it off ready. You get onto a Zoom or a FaceTime and you actually witness, they hold the camera up while they actually physically sign the document. That's acceptable as well.
Okay, so it's looking, so that's the present.
Fingers crossed that they actually do that because, it's such an advancement. Marriage Act of 1961, is a long time ago, and we're at 2023 now. We've advanced so much in our technological abilities, but the Act hasn't, in fact, caught up with us. This is one of the things that hopefully they'll keep on and will make it so much more efficient for us and couples.
Okay, just a couple more questions around this, and then we'll. Chris has asked the question about the course. We'll get to that question soon, Chris. Would you ever take 2 bookings in one day, Jean?
Lots of celebrants do, and I have always not taken 2 bookings on one day. However, I have done it this year. But what you have to consider with 2 bookings is, where are they, what time are they, and do you have enough time to get from booking 1 to booking 2? So the current one that I took last week, I've got a high tea wedding at 11 o'clock in a particular area, and then I've got a 3 o'clock wedding further out. So So the high tea wedding is on the way to the next wedding at 3 o'clock. So I have in fact taken double bookings, and many celebrants do. And there are some celebrants that will take 3 or 4 bookings in the day if you happen to be working at a venue that have multiple weddings that they can actually deliver on the day. So it's possible.
Las Vegas style.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some chapels that will do, you know, like an 11 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, and a 2 o'clock. So if you're lucky enough to be the celebrant, you could potentially be doing double multiples.
Okay. Jean, have you ever cancelled on a wedding?
Once. And it was tragic circumstances. I won't go into the tragic circumstances, but once something happened within my family a week before a wedding. I couldn't do the wedding. I was part of an association. I called out to my association president to say, look, this has happened. I can't do the wedding on the weekend. They contacted all of the celebrants within our association to see who was available on the day. And that beautiful celebrant called me up on the very day to say, I'll take it over for you. We exchanged all the information that needed to be exchanged, and then the celebrant took over. So yeah, only once.
Okay, that's a good segue into associations. Can you tell us a bit more about wedding associations?
If you join an association, which is entirely up to you, it's not mandatory within the industry, you have, number one, networking. You can, you know, ask any questions of your committee members. You can network with other celebrants within areas that you work in. And as a celebrant, you should have some buddies out there. You can't do this solo. If something happens to you, as I've just suggested happened to me, you've got to be able to reach out to someone else. You have an obligation to your couple to ensure that you can't just ring them up and say, sorry, I'm sick, I can't do the wedding. There has to be a follow through with support to actually take that over. So if you're part of an association, it's one phone call to one person who can spread the word out, you know, in many a web of information that can go out. The other consideration is, as a celebrant, you should consider insurances. Again, not mandatory, but you should consider public liability, personal indemnity, and copyright insurance. If you join an association, you can opt into a cheaper form of insurance. So for our association and all of the associations across the country, if you join an insurance with one of those associations, it's going to cost you about $26 to $28 a financial year. If you don't join an association and choose to get insurance, you do it individually. It's only 1 or 2 insurance companies that actually insure celebrants. We're a unique industry. And that's going to cost you about $178, I think was the last price there. So there are some savings to be had in joining an association. There are also, depending on what association you join, we will do conferences, biannual conferences. Some will just do an annual conference where, again, you can network. There'll be keynote speakers. There'll be just all sorts of information that's shared with the members to keep them current in the industry.
Okay.
For relevant topics, yeah.
Mark Whittish has asked, I understand that JP may be able to fulfill this role also.
That was for authorising a NOIM. Yes, a JP can witness the signatures on the notice of intended marriage as an authorised person, but they can't actually do it on Zoom digitally. It's only the celebrants that can do that. So a celebrant can witness the signature on the NOIM, notice of intended marriage. A JP can witness a police officer and a medical practitioner in this country. If it's to be witnessed overseas, if the couple are overseas, a notary public overseas would be the best option to witness. And that's all included in the course. We go over that sort of information.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Alicia has asked, what's the average income based on one wedding a week?
Well, yes, good question. So I have, if I can find it here, roughly, there's some averages that have come out from Easy Weddings across a survey that they did industry-wide. And the average cost of a celebrant Australia-wide is about $780 for a wedding ceremony. That's average. In the state Northern Territory, the average cost of a celebrant is about $1,200. In Tassie, the average cost for a celebrant is closer to $600. So they do vary across the states. New South Wales, Queensland, and Victoria are all pretty much $750 to $790 on average. However, there are celebrants that will charge and do charge successfully $1,200, $1,800, $2,000 a ceremony. So that's not uncommon either.
Which we've had this discussion before, which is cheap when you consider the amount that videographers and the photographers make.
Yes, so we are the cheapest service provider, aren't we, Adam, on the day? And your journey with a couple, it's about 17 to 18 hours of work in general, like on a typical wedding ceremony, that you will actually put into delivering that ceremony. And that's from the first phone call to when you pack your PA system up, go home and register the marriage at home. About 17 to 18 hours would be your typical fully personalised ceremony. So if you calculate that out by what you think your hourly rate is, then you might come up with a different figure. Okay. And then what are you giving your clients as well? Are you giving them a personalised ceremony with all of the bells and whistles? Or are you giving them a pre-scripted ceremony that's not going to take any time or effort from you, a very generic style of ceremony? So it really depends on what you're offering with that price as well.
Now, Carmel has asked, can an Australian celebrant perform a legal ceremony overseas, say in Bali?
No. So as an authorised marriage celebrant, you can marry a couple anywhere, anytime in Australia. So your authorisation doesn't exist in another country. It's only in Australia. Anywhere, anytime. You can do it on a boat. You can do it on a plane, on land. If it's on boat or plane, you need to establish you are in Australian airspace or Australian seas.
Okay. And Julie has asked, Jean, do you play the music as well?
I do. I'm the crazy celebrant. So part of my package is to play the music for my clients. And I find that that's a winner, really, to add the playing of music, because to hire a singer or to hire a DJ for the 30 minutes of ceremony could cost them, you know, $500 to $1,000 or more, depending on who they're getting to actually come to the ceremony. I would be more inclined to think it's over $1,000. A live singer on a guitar will charge about $1,500 an hour, $1,500 to $2,000 an hour to actually sing. So when I offer the playing of music to my clients, I think sometimes it's the thing that gets it over the line. Very stressful.
I wish I'd kept up my guitar now.
Yeah, me too. The singing celebrant guitarist, yeah. So
Jean, now Chris Cole has asked, getting back to the course, how long does the online course take on average?
Okay, the required completion time is 12 months. Okay, so you've got that to work with. I would say on average, maybe about 5 to 6 months to someone who's dedicating the time to doing it. I have seen people finish it earlier than that, but they are students who have committed to, you know, quite a few hours every day, and they've been able to actually complete the course sometimes in 3 months, sometimes sooner. I'm very cautious to say that. You can get it done quicker, but you have to put the time in to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to be able to dedicate quite a few hours each day. And yes, you can get it done sooner than the 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question, can a pastor of a registered church be able to conduct marriage without having a certificate for?
Yes. Now, within the Marriage Act, we have subdivisions of celebrants. So we have subdivision A, who are our ministers of recognised religious groups. We have subdivision B, just very quickly, the people who work in birth, deaths and marriages. And we have celebrants, which is what you will become, subdivision C of the Marriage Act. And then we've got religious celebrants, which is subdivision D. Someone who is a registered minister of, someone who is a recognised minister of religion has the authority under the church. The government or the Act has given the church the authority to marry a couple legally. And once someone is a minister of that particular religion, they've got the authority from their religious group as well as the authority from the government that comes to that particular religion. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
that answer your question? Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some sort of diverse questions here that we're just going to bounce around, and that's good. That's okay. So what sort of PA system would you recommend? This is from Mark.
Okay, well, I've had the same PA system since the day I became a celebrant, so I pretty much think I can recommend that. And that is a system called MyPro, MIPRO. They are currently using that system in the Catholic primary schools. I don't know if anyone's got children or grandchildren here. They use the MyPro system in the schools as well. So it's one that I've always used and I would recommend it. Yeah. Yeah.
I think now we often get that question. So we've actually formed a relationship with MyPro. And for anybody who's interested, it is available on our website. You can find out more details about the MyPro system. Some of you may have received a letter or know of or been to our website where we have the Platinum Business Pack. So if any of you are considering taking this up as sort of your side hustle or career, the Platinum Business Pack would be a great consideration for you to look into, because we have everything in there for anyone who's looking to be a marriage celebrant in business, including a great deal on the MyPro. I think we offer we've got a 10% off offer from MyPro. Yeah, so that's included in the Platinum Business Pack for anybody who's thinking that they'd like to learn about what sort of business structure they should consider, whether it's a limited liability company or sole provider or partnership, that sort of thing. And then we also have training in there about being a startup business, marketing and sales, using social media marketing. All of those things that you need to know when you're starting out in business are included in the Platinum Business Pack.
Thanks, Adam. Hey, Adam, there was a question there asked from Greg. Do you recommend building relationships with venues? Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Your clients will book the venue first. So if you have a relationship with a venue and you're a preferred supplier, then they're going to get your name first. And when they book that venue, they'll be talking to a coordinator who's looking after them. That person becomes their support person from the minute they book to the minute they walk down the aisle or walk out at the end of the evening. So they're really looking to that coordinator to give them all of the relevant information and contacts. So if you've made some contacts with a venue and you're one of their preferred suppliers, or they'll hand out your leaflets, that is one of the best places you could go to get your bookings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're coming close to the end now, so the time has just flown by. We've got about 4 minutes left. I've noticed that Ben has actually entered in. So if any of you have spoken to Ben, this is a good chance to see Ben, see his face. Ben, do you want to say hi?
G'day, everybody. Yeah, I'm part of the course advisory team with Minna. So we're here to support you guys in your journey and help you to find a direction into celebrancy or funeral training or whatever it is that you're looking for. So yeah, let us be your guide or your help.
Thanks, Ben. And has Minna come into the call, or?
Yes, Minna's there.
Hey,
Hello,
Minna.
Minna.
Hi, everyone. Yep, so just saying hi to everyone you may have or may have not spoken with me. And you may already have all your celebrancy questions answered here. So if you need further guidance or assistance with getting started, when to start, what is the process, if you'd like to discuss on payment options, please let us know. You can contact me or Ben. We're here to help.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mina. Thanks, Ben, for dropping by.
Thanks,
Right.
guys.
We're coming close to the end. With maybe one time for, have we missed any questions, Jean?
I think we've got them all. I'll just go back through and double check. Does anyone have any last minute questions? PA, yes, do you play the music as well? Yeah, I think we've answered all the questions there, if there aren't any more.
Kalina has asked, how do we contact Ben or Mina? If you have any of our emails, you'll find their phone numbers. There's a scheduler button there that you can schedule a call with them, or simply you just call them the cell phone number at the bottom of the emails. Another way of getting in touch with them would be to call the office. Yeah. Right. Well, Jean, it's been a great hour. There's some great.
I'm talking about what I do.
The questions came thick and fast in this session. So thanks for everybody's questions, and I hope that you were able to get a satisfactory answer to your questions. And again, feel free to reach out to Ben or Mina again if you're looking to sign up. We have a couple of specials going at the moment, including the ceremony survival kit, which has been put together by Jean. Jean has a
I
survival
use every
kit.
one of the things in that survival kit.
I think that the survival kit now includes such things as gumboots and tent pegs.
Tent pegs and golf tees.
Yeah.
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 And soon to be added curtain weights for veils that blow away on the beach.
Yes, so I think you have to provide your own gumboots, but all the other items are in the ceremony survival kit. And for all our new students signing up in March, they'll receive a beautiful box full of Jean's plan Bs, contingencies.
All the contingency plans that you need.
All the things to save the day. And we'll also be having another webinar like this where Jean will go through each item, what inspired it, and what what it's used for. Yeah.
Every wedding I do, there's something new that gets added. I've actually got a mallet in there too, Adam. I think that's the newest one. Yeah, a mallet to put in the golf tees, but I've recently discovered from my husband that you don't need a mallet to put golf tees into the ground. They're designed to be pushed in. So that was an educational moment for me.
Awesome. All right. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.